G'day and welcome to the GameDay Squad Global Cricket Championship Show. We are the Fantasy Bros. I am Kwozzie, and joining me as always is Moi Moi. Mate, how are you?
Good, thanks, Kwozzie. How you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. How are your teams travelling so far?
A bit up and down over the first 4 rounds of the comp. Had a second finish in the champion comp in round 2.
Nice.
But the poor weather in that England game saw me tumble down that leaderboard.
Yeah.
And look, I've got to check those forecasts a little bit more thoroughly because I've slipped down to 4th overall now. So Fez has already got about a 400 or 500 point lead on me. So I've got to do something quick. How about you, mate?
Yeah, similar to you, I had a third place last round in Classic. However, yeah, that championship is really playing havoc with me at the moment. I agree that the weather stuffed a few things up. I was up late there that night waiting for those teams to be announced and then making some changes, and then lo and behold, weather got us and no scores. So a bit unfortunate, but hey, play on. We'll keep pushing forward.
Plenty of rounds to go.
That's it. And I guess that's why we're here. So everyone, thanks for joining us this first show of ours. Each week we're going to take a look at the previous matches that have been played. We'll preview the upcoming matches and tell you who you should be starting, sitting, and potentially having those eyes on and watching. We'll also finish with a special segment that we can show off and maybe help you out with some of your teams there. And then you can jump in and potentially win some prizes as well. So stay tuned for that a little bit later on. All right, let's jump straight into it. To kick off the show, we're going to review each match winners and our top GDS scorers for those games. And I think, Stewie, you're going to jump in with the round 1.
Will do, mate. Yeah, the tournament kicked off in style with host USA outclassing Canada, and they won the match by 7 wickets with 14 balls to spare. Look, Canada got off to a really good start with Darlewell and Curtin combining for about 154, but they scored 81 and 66 points together. But really, it was Aaron Jones from the USA who was just unreal with the bat. They were actually struggling early in that innings, but he went on to score 94 off 40. He hit 10 big sixes, and I think that fell just one short of Chris Gale's 11. So what a way to start the comp, and Aaron Jones scored 126 points. The round then concluded with that game against West Indies versus PNG, but it wasn't actually as easy as some of you might think. PNG actually got off to a really good start with Sese Bao top scoring with 50 points, but it was West Indies all-rounder Roston Chase who steered the home team to victory. But they only did it with an over to spare, which was quite interesting. His 42 off 27 was really important, and he scored 70 points in terms of GDS scoring. So what about round 2, mate?
Yep, round 2 began with a super over thriller. We saw Namibia keep it cool and have a really good super over. I think 21 off that super over there. So they did really well there to defeat Oman. Oman did well to hang into that in that game, but Namibia's Ruben Trumpelman just really ripped through that top order and probably set the scene nice and early, taking 2 wickets in his first 2 balls, which was unreal to see to start that game.
Yeah, he's good.
He ended up with figures of 4 for 21 from 4, so a really good game from him. And, you know, if people took a punt, I certainly did. I was rewarded with 107 GDS points. So hopefully a few of you out there had him and were rewarded.
I didn't.
Next up, round 2 concluded there with Sri Lanka versus South Africa, and there's a lot that could be said about this game. Not so much about the players, more about the pitch, which we might talk about a little bit later. But it was a convincing win for South Africa. Nortje ripped through the Sri Lankan squad, taking 4 for 7 in his 4 overs as well. And that was 18 dot balls within that. So I think he top scored that game with 121 GDS points. It was an unreal performance.
That's awesome.
And then jumping into round 3, how'd we go, Moi Moi?
We actually had a triple game in terms of GDS rounds. So we had to check those team lists on 3 occasions rather than the previous 2. So that made things even harder, trying to fit up to 6 teams worth of players into our squads. The first game was the entertaining Afghanistan, who absolutely steamrolled poor Uganda. Afghanistan got off to a flyer. They had Gurbaz and Zadran, who combined for a massive total. But they only ended up on 183. I thought they were They were on track for well over 200. Both of those players scored 112 and 89 respectively. But the standout had to be their fast bowler, Faruqi. He was unbelievable. A bit like Trumpelman, he tore through that top order. He took 5 for 9 in his 4 overs. Sadly, I didn't play him in any of my teams, so that was 142 points that went lacking, and probably a big reason why I wasn't featured on those leaderboards in round 3. Game 2 of the round saw the English take on Scotland. This was a really surprising one. Scotland came out firing. Both of their openers, Munsey and Jones, combined for 90 off 10. With a few rain interruptions, but then the rain, had other ideas, and the game ended up getting called off, probably doing England a favour. Did they get away with a potential upset loss? Look, maybe. So no result in that game, but game 3 was the Netherlands and Nepal. The Dutch ran out pretty comfortable winners, chasing down a modest total of 106 in that 18th over. 2 of their bowlers, Van Beek and Tim Pringle, took 3 wickets. But the Netherlands have Max O'Dowd to thank. His cool 54 off 48 proved to be the difference, and he secured owners a handy 84 GDS points. So that was round 3, and we've just seen the conclusion to round 4 wrap up. How'd that go, Kwozzie?
Yeah, again, round 4, another triple header there, and I guess there was some benefit to the games in this triple header, because we had a 9:30 game this morning in Australia and then 10:30 to follow, so it was a little bit easier for people over our way. Kick us off there, it was India versus Ireland, and I'd heard whispers before this game that Ireland really fancied themselves to upset the powerhouse of India. I think they're probably dreaming, to be honest, because we saw that India really dominated that game, and like I said before, it was actually the New York pitch that probably played a bit of havoc as well. I think there was a few batsmen that were hit, and we'll talk about one in a moment that retired hurt, but it was Hardik Pandya that really was the best of the bowlers. Figures 4 overs, 3 wickets, 1 maiden, and 14 dot balls. So he locked in 93 GDS points. So unreal performance there. But like I said, there's going to be a watch there on their captain, Sharma. He did retire hurt, and I think it was a potential shoulder injury. He'd been, hit a couple of times, and so he retired hurt after a 50-odd. But then after the game, he did say, in his words, he was just a little sore. So we'll keep an eye on how he goes there and whether he lines up for the next game. Cool. Next up, we saw Uganda absolutely rip through PNG, limiting them only 77 runs across their 20 overs. It was the 43-year-old Frank Sabuga who was the key for Uganda, with figures of 4 overs, took 2 wickets, 2 maidens, which doesn't happen very often in the shorter format. And then he had 20 dot balls, which again, that's an unreal number of dots there. And you can see why Uganda had a really good game. He ended up on 90 GDS points. So if anyone happened to play him in any of the forms, any of the competitions, they were rewarded. And then, as you said, the game finished off today with Australia versus Oman. Everyone's potential top scorer, Travis Head. Unfortunately, he fell early in the innings, just couldn't get it right. Then Maxi, who we also favoured, came in, and off the first ball, he just could not find the run. But then Warner and Stoinis really steadied the ship, and Stoinis ended up on 67 off 36 balls, and then he went ahead and bagged himself 3 wickets and a top score for the whole week, the first rounds, of 163 GDS points. So unreal performance there, and unfortunately he burnt me. I did not have him. I chose Maxwell instead. I'm really annoyed at myself for that, but we move on. We've got plenty of games to go. So that's the wrap up of the first few rounds. Hopefully you had a few of those top scoring players in your team, and hopefully you've ended up with some nice prizes to kick off the tournament, and you can start loading up for the back end. The next segment here, we're going to jump straight into a preview of the upcoming matches and who we think could be a target from each team. We'll do this rapid fire, and then we'll finish off with our start, sit and watches for the tournament, or for the week, excuse me. Moi Moi, first up, who's your player in round 6 that coaches should be targeting?
We'll kick things off here with Canada versus Ireland. Look, they were both last start losers, so it's crunch time for both teams. I think Canada will need to look for the experience of all-rounder Saad bin Zafar to show a bit more with the bat if there to be any chance of that tough Irish unit. Ireland also showed that they're pretty vulnerable to all-rounders, so I'm going to lock in Saad bin Zafar.
Yeah, good. Next up, we've got New Zealand versus Afghanistan. So New Zealand's first game of the tournament. They'll want to start off the campaign with a win against a red-hot Afghanistan. They come in with some absolute form. But I'm looking at Kane Williamson. He was my must-have in our previous show, and I'll be looking at him again. I really want him to lead from the front. And, if they're to win this tournament, they need Kane firing. And in the last T20 tournament, 2021, we saw that in the World Cup, Kane scored 40 not out against Afghanistan, so he's definitely showed that he can score a few runs against them.
Gee, you've had to wait a while to watch your boys, hey?
Yep. I'm ready, though.
All right. They're ready. We then see Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. Is an upset on the cards? Who knows? Look, this game should at least be full of entertainment, with Sri Lanka desperate to find some form. Another all-rounder is my tip here in this game. It's Hasaranga. He performed really well with the ball, but he needs to improve with the bat in this game. The positive things is he came in at number 4 and he bowled his 4 overs. So you've just got to lock him into your side.
Another one of our must-haves from our previous show as well. Round 7 kicks off with Netherlands up against South Africa. As we spoke about already, South Africa made quick work of Sri Lanka. So, we'll be looking again for potentially a quick game for the South Africans. I'm looking the way of Reza Hendricks, who's one of their opening batsmen. I feel like he can improve with bat in hand. He struggled there in that first game. Also, Netherlands did allow 44 points to Nepal's captain and top order batsman. So there's a potential there for, a little bit of weakness to be shown.
Yeah, and he was unreal in the IPL as well. We've then got Australia and England, and what a matchup this is going to be. I'm definitely looking forward to this one. I think England's confidence might be down a little bit thanks to the Scottish. Look, I think this one might come down to England's pace attack versus the Australian top order, who really struggled today against, let's be honest, Minnows Oman. So I think it's Jofra Archer here that could prove to be the game breaker for England, but we know he's struggling with those injuries, but he could prove to be the difference.
Yeah, definitely. What a game. I'm looking forward to that one. And then last to finish that round, we've got the West Indies up against Uganda. And I think this is going to be a match that a lot of us will target in this round here. We'll probably load up with quite a few Windies players. Uganda struggled with the Afghanistan quicks of Naveen and Faruqi, who ended up totaling 190 GDS points together. So if anyone played both quicks, you'd be laughing there. So I expect Alzari Joseph, the West Indies quick, to jump in, get a few wickets early with the ball, and then potentially have the back end of the innings to knock them over, and let's hope for 5.
Let's hope for good weather, though. That's the third game of the round. If you're keeping all of those spots spare and the weather has other ideas.
Yeah.
All right, I reckon round 8 sees the matchup of the week. Look, you can't pick any other game for matchup of the week other than India v Pakistan. There'll be millions, probably billions of eyeballs on this one. And I think it's time for Indian bat Virat Kohli to step up and show his class. He was pretty poor in that first game, but look, I can just see him oozing class and guiding the Indians home. But what a thriller this will be.
Yeah, I can't believe what he did to start the tournament, but I guess that they took a swing, and let's hope that he finds a bit of form in this first game, because I think it's very hard to leave him out of your teams whenever he's playing. Yeah, I think he'd be first.
Just know he'll go big if you do.
Yeah, that's it. To finish off round 8, we've got Oman versus Scotland. Again, maybe not a game you're necessarily targeting when you've got India versus Pakistan, but I guess we're looking at potentially the top order to dominate against a struggling Oman. Maybe potentially we got Richie Berrington, the captain. He sort of missed out in that first game, so I reckon he could jump in and swing the bat and accrue a decent total there for the Scottish, and hopefully could get his campaign off to a good start.
Yeah, nice. Round 9, I think we've just got the one game in round 9, and that sees Sri Lanka take on Bangladesh. South Africa didn't get much of a bat in their opener after rolling Sri Lanka with the ball. So I think it's time for the batsmen to shine in this one. I'm going to be starting QDK, that's Quinton de Kock, the South African wicketkeeper, and Heinrich Klaassen, who can just clear those ropes at ease. I think they'll both score well, and you're probably going to have to load up on quite a few bats. Since it's only the one game this round.
Yeah. I quite enjoy one game, actually. It makes some decisions a little
less
bit
pressure. Yeah, absolutely.
And then round 10, we're looking first up. We've got another triple header, but first up we've got Pakistan up against Canada. And I'll be looking at the Pakistani captain, Babar Azam. Hopefully he gets the team off to a flyer against Canada, gets that strike rate up. 150 would be nice. Few sixes, few fours to get that bonus in as well. That'd be really lovely. And really looking forward to that matchup. Canada have shown some vulnerability to top order power hitters already. So I think potentially Azam could come in and knock a few around.
I hope you're right, because I said a number of very good things about Baba last week, and he hasn't really lived up to those just yet. That middle game around 10 sees Sri Lanka take on Nepal. Sri Lanka have had a pretty tough draw early on, so now I think it's time for them to flex their muscle against a lesser known associate nation, and I think they'll look to fast bowler Patharana, who should score well. And I think he's got to be a lock in my team. I can see a 3 or 4 wicket haul quite easily in this one.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed. I had him in the previous round that Sri Lanka played, and obviously it didn't turn out as expected. But I think I'll be locking him in as well. To end round 10, we've got Australia up against Namibia. And I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, but I am going with Glenn Maxwell again. He cannot buy a run to save himself, and he's got to find some form at some point. There has to be a bounce back for him. He's obviously going to be disappointed with the start of his World Cup, and he'll probably want to bounce back and right some of those wrongs. I don't know. We could talk about Maxi and all the good that he brings, and then the not so good. But it must be about time that he bounces back, and potentially as well. Namibia's shown they leak some GS points to all rounders, so it could be time that for the big show to stand up.
He's almost that one guy that you just have to play regardless of matchup, because he can just go massive. And if you leave him out expecting a poor score, that's the time that he'll score 100 or 40, and then you're crucifying yourself for leaving him out. Don't do it to yourself. Just start Maxi.
It almost is that you just have to play all the all-rounders from Australia. You've got to play them all. They've got such potential or such a high ceiling to just score you that 100.
They spread out their points quite a lot as well.
Yeah. Well, that's the preview for the next few rounds. Hopefully you've got some of those cards there, and if not, definitely jump onto that marketplace and look for a few trades, and potentially buy a few more packs with some of your winnings as well, and try and pull some of those cards that you'll need in those upcoming rounds. As we said, we're going to look at our start, sit and watch now for that week. So we've each gone 1 or 2 players in our start, sit and watch based on some of the stats that we've talked about. Moi Moi, you're going to kick us off with your start, sit and watch. Who have you got first up in your start?
Righto, I've got West Indian wicketkeeper batsman Nicholas Pooran, who I also had in my preview last week. I think anytime he takes the field, he'll be a start, but definitely this week up against Uganda, I love what he might be able to bring to our teams. Look, he only scored 48 GDS points against PNG early on, but the signs were there in his short 27 ball innings. He smashed a straight drive out of the park entirely, and he hit 3 consecutive boundaries before losing his wicket. And we only need to look back a few days before the tournament. He smoked 75 off just 25 against Australia. So something similar against Uganda wouldn't surprise. I'm not leaving him out of my team.
You got to remember though that half the Australian team were the coaches in the field, so that might have made a difference.
Well, they couldn't field in the grandstand or outside of the park, because that's where he was hitting them all.
That is true.
For my sit, I've gone with Afghanistan left arm quick Faruqi. Now, we just mentioned his awesome stats of 5 for 9 earlier, and I think a lot of people are going to flock to him in their next match, but that matchup's going to be a whole lot tougher than Uganda. He takes on your boys, New Zealand, and I think they're going to be much more assertive with the bat, and they'll know he's in some form as well, so they're not going to give up their wickets easily to him. I had a look into his stats, and Faruqi's only taken multiple wickets twice in his previous 10 matches before this fifer. And in that span, he also went wicketless on 3 occasions. Yeah. So just because someone goes well in one match doesn't necessarily mean they're a must. And I've even labelled him as my sit.
And I guess that, you're really looking at chasing those points and potentially that, you won't be rewarded. We've seen time and time again, you look back at the IPL, the number of times that a player had a massive score and then the following game potentially got you a duck egg. So, we've got to look at potentially sitting him there and definitely against the powerhouse of New Zealand.
Absolutely. And alrighty, for my watch, look, I've gone with the Australian pace trio, Stark, Hazelwood and Cummins. Look, I'm really interested to see who gets trusted with the death overs here against, a much tougher matchup in England, as I'm probably more likely to start with this bowler if I can only go with one Australian quick. We know how crucial those death overs are, and just some of those junk wickets at the end can quickly add up in terms of GDS points. Just interesting to note, we did see Stark go down with that calf complaint during today's match, so we'll need to keep an eye on that injury as well. But it might even make things easier if he's out for a few matches and it's just that duo of Hazelwood and Cummins leading the pace attack. But if Stark's out, this could be a really big blow for Australia's chances long term.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree.
Who have you got for your start sit watches, mate?
All right, for my start, I'm also going a West Indian player. I've gone the wicket keeper, although he doesn't always take the gloves. It's Johnson Charles. They're up against Uganda, and I think he's in a perfect spot there. We've already spoken about loading up on West Indian players in this game, and I think he will be one that I will be starting for sure. He will want to pay his team back. He did get a first ball duck against PNG, so I can see a few coaches not really keen on playing him, just in case that might happen again. But I think that only offers an extra reason why I probably will start him. He might have that pod factor. But I think also there's that bounce back opportunity for him as well. The pitch in Guyana is also shown to be friendly for batters. So in the first few games there, I've seen quite a bit out of that pitch. So I'm pretty happy to target some, opening batsmen. We did see Afghanistan, their opening partnership, and they knocked around quite a few balls and ended up with about 154 with that opening partnership. So, yeah, I'll be targeting Johnson Charles, definitely.
Yeah, I think he'll find his way into my side as well, particularly as that pod factor.
My sit, it probably will come as a little bit of a surprise, and I apologise to all of our Australian fans out there, and particularly our David Warner fans. I'm going to be sitting David Warner against England. He did have a really good start, as we've already spoken about, 56 off 51 to, like I said, steady the ship when a few of the boys around him were falling over there. However, his record against England in T20s is not good. It is not pretty at all. He's only averaging 21 runs against them in all T20 internationals. And it gets even worse when you look at T20 World Cup games. Since 2010, he's had 2 matches and he's totaled 3 runs. So I don't know what it is. England have got something against him. And as you spoke about, you said Jofra Archer in the preview. I could see him really targeting Warner early on, and I could see Warner potentially going for a duck.
Yeah, I think those English quicks will definitely make life tough for our top order.
Then my watch, it is a New Zealand all-rounder, and it's Rashin Ravindra. they're up against Afghanistan, as we've spoken about, and we know what Ravindra can do. He scorched oppositions with the bat in the past. He loves to push that run rate up in T20 internationals. His average strike rate's 133.75. So he really likes to get the ball rolling and get a big total. The reason I'm going to watch is because he's only had 13 innings out of 20 potential innings where he's bowled. And I think that is probably the reason I would be playing him if I know for certain he's going to get 2 or 3 overs. I probably won't be looking at him if he's only going to bowl that 1 over. So I'll be definitely keeping a keen eye to see how many overs he gets, if he does get an over with the ball at all. That's not to say, he doesn't have value. I just think that when there's a lot of genuine all-rounders that will potentially bowl 4 overs. I think I just want to see how New Zealand play him first and see what they do with him before I jump in and definitely lock him into my squad.
Yeah, love the reasoning you've got there, mate. I think I'll have to follow suit there, and fingers crossed he does see plenty of overs with the ball as well.
Sensational. Well, that's our start, sit and watch. Hopefully you agree with some of those. If you don't, definitely leave a comment. Let us know who you think your start, sit and watch should be, and we might get back to you and give some reasons why we agree or disagree. Alrighty, we're now at a point where we have something special for you. We've already teased it a little bit. We have the Fantasy Bros Bro Down Showdown, where Moi Moi and I go head to head to pick our best scoring batter, all-rounder and bowler for the games we just previewed. So that is up to round 10. So to be in the chance to win your very own unique GDS cricket pack, please comment below who you think will win with their predictions. So either Kwozzie or Moi Moi, who do you think is going to take out the Fantasy Bros Bro Down Showdown? Also head over to our Instagram page, that's at Fantasy Bros AU, to make your predictions. Jump on there, let us know what you think. Next week's show, we'll announce the winner via random draw, and we might even do a live pack opening there if we can as well. So stay tuned. Definitely jump in and comment who you think will win. Moi Moi, we've spoken a lot about some of these players, but let's jump in. Who are your 3 that I'm going up against this week?
With my bat lineup, I've selected Travis Head from Australia. My all-rounder, I've put some more faith in Hasaranga from Sri Lanka. And to get it done for my bowler, I've gone with West Indian Alzari Joseph. Who have you got?
Lovely. In my bat, I've gone Reza Hendricks from South Africa. I think my all-rounder, I've gone Andre Russell, Dre Russ, West Indies. We've already said how big a game they're going to have. And then my bowler, I've gone Pat Cummins.
Nice, taking advantage of no Stark, I see. Cheeky.
Yes, that is it. Well, we'll wait and see. It's definitely a watch. All right, that's the show. Thank you very much for joining us on the GameDay Squad Cricket Show. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe GameDay Squad on all their socials. Don't forget to download the app, create an account, rip some packs, chuck those cards into your teams, go head to head with myself and Moi Moi. We are looking forward to competing against you. Also, make sure you check us out on your favorite socials. That is at Fantasy Bros AU. Please leave a comment. Let us know what you think. If you've got any questions you'd like us to answer on next week's show, please leave them in the comments as well. We look forward to hearing how your teams go, and we will catch you next week. Thanks for joining us.